Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on your favorite Little Sla YouTube channel. So, today in this video, we are going to see how to create a visual network and a subnet using Terraform code. So, in our previous video, we saw how to create a virtual network using Terraform code. So, in this video, we'll see how to create a virtual network and a subnet, and in the order of using implicit dependency. So, I'll show you how to use this and how does this really work when it comes to the creation, because you might have been facing some issues when you're creating a visual network and a subnet. And in case you're someone who is trying to who is learning the Terraform code, so this will definitely help you to understand more about the dependencies, like how does it work. Okay, so before we move on to this video, let me give you a quick introduction on what is a visual network and what is a subnet. So a visual network basically in Azure is a representation of your own network in the cloud. It's logically isolated from other virtual networks in Azure, which provides a private and a secure environment to deploy your Azure resources. So basically, this Azure virtual network is a logically isolated network. So it's completely isolated from the other virtual network. So they all stay isolated when you have multiple virtual networks, and they provide a the main reason is they provide a private and a secure environment to deploy your resources. So that's the reason we bring in the visual network and we bring other resources inside the visual network. So they are private and they are secure. And secondly, the subnet. So what is a subnet? So subnet is a segmented portion of a virtual network. So subnets allow you to divide your virtual network into smaller manageable parts, and each subnet can be associated with its own network security groups, its route tables, and the Azure resources. So when you say a virtual network is a very big community, and inside that subnet is something like a blocks or a segmented portion of the entire community. So you're going to segment the portion of the virtual network. And what does this do? So subnets allows you to divide your virtual network into smaller and the manageable parts. So because of this, each subnet can be associated with its own network security groups, the route tables, and the Azure resources. Because the subnets, since they are inside the visual network, they will allow you to associate with the resources inside the visual network. So they cannot associate with the resources outside the VNet, but they can associate with the resources inside the its own VNet. Okay. So firstly, let's see how to create the VNet and then the subnet. So for that, let me first create a file, and this is going to be main.tf. So we all know the Terraform file ends with .tf extension. And now let me paste the code. So this explains you the provider. So here we're going to use the Azure Resource Manager. So that's the reason we are giving Azure as the provider. And the provider again here, it's going to be the Azure provider. And the second part here is the main part, which is the virtual network. So we are going to create a Azure RM virtual network with the name VNet. So then I'm giving a name for this VNet, and then the address space, the location, and then the resource group name. So which resource group name I'm going to use for it. And after that, I'm going to create a subnet. So as I told you, subnet will divide, or subnet uh, will divide your virtual network into smaller manageable parts. So that's the reason you can see I have taken the address space from the inside the virtual network. So it comes from the address space of the visual network. So if you can see here, it starts with 10.0.0.0/16, and the same here for subnet, it has 10.0.0.0/24. So which means it's part of the virtual network, right? So it does not go beyond, or it does not take any other address spaces. It takes only the address space from the virtual network. So the next step here is, let's save this file, and then let's go to the terminal. So in the terminal, I'm going to log in. So I have the login code here. So let me paste the login code. And once I logged in to the Azure, Let's do a cd, and let's go to the next step. Let's do a initiate, and we'll try to apply the code. So now we are inside the Azure, and let me do a cd Terraform lab. So this is nothing but the folder here on the top, and when I do this cd Terraform and when I do ls, I can see the main.terraform file. So now I'm going to do a Terraform init, and this will initiate the Terraform. This will initiate the provider, the plugins, everything. This basically do all the initialization progress. And the next step is going to be, we are going to run a plan and see what are the resources that are going to get created. Terraform plan. So every time when you are trying to create some resource, always I recommend you to do a Terraform plan, because this will tell you what exactly are the resources you're going to create, you're going to delete, you're going to update. And here you can see we are going to add two resources. So one is the VNet and one is the subnet, and then 0 to change, 0 to destroy. So here if you see, we're going to add the subnet. So firstly a subnet will be created, and then the visual network, right? So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to uh, do a Terraform apply, and let's see what happens. So when I do Terraform apply, and let me give a S, so this will create the resources. So here if you see, we have got an error which tells us that error waiting for completion of visual network, the VNet that has to be created, but the operation was cancelled because, as I have already showed you in Azure, sorry, in the Terraform plan, if you see, let me again show it to you. It's very clear that the subnet is being created even before the visual network has completed. So that is the reason the Terraform does not know that the visual network needs to exist first. So if you see here, okay, I think it's been created. Let's go to the previous plan. So if you see here, the first thing, so Terraform will perform the following actions. It starts with the subnet and then it goes to the visual network. So since the subnet will be created inside the visual network, but here in this scenario, since we do not have a visual network, automatically the subnet creation has failed, and that's the reason we could see the error here, which tells us that the operation was cancelled and superseded by the operation. So that is the reason. So now to fix this, what we have to do is we'll have to make some changes in the file. So what we have to do is, instead of having the subnet name which is defined here, so the visual network name, so instead of giving the visual network name which is created here, we have to make a quick change which comes as Azure RM underscore. So here if you see visual network, sorry, visual network dot vnet dot name, and this will, so in fact by renaming this way, we can automatically bring in the name. So whatever that's get created will automatically, I mean the virtual network will be created automatically the moment the subnets get created. So it does not, in fact it does not want to wait for the VNet to get created. So any virtual network that's getting created will be, or any any subnet that's created will be part of the visual network. So that's the reason we are making this change here. And let's again go back. Let's do a Terraform init. So the reason I'm bringing you, I mean, I'm telling you this here is, whenever you are using your uh, Terraform code, you must be very careful while doing all these creations. So let's do a Terraform plan. Let me save this code. And now let's do the Terraform apply, and let's see whether we get any error or whether the resources are getting created. So it tells us that the VNet is already exist in the state. So now to fix this issue, I did a Terraform import and I tried to import the uh, virtual network. By doing this, I will be able to manage without encountering an error. And let me try to do the Terraform apply now. Yes, so now the VNet and the subnet is created, and that's because I did a import of the resources, mainly import of the VNet, and that has actually fixed this issue. So in fact we saw two different things. So one is when we are trying to create a virtual network and a subnet, we should be very careful in naming the virtual network, because we cannot create a subnet without a virtual network. So that's the first thing. And in case if you are facing any errors after that, so what you should do is you must do a import. So you should do import the resource, and that will help you to apply, and that will help you to create the resources. So with that I come to an end, and I definitely believe that this video will be very useful to you. So until I meet you in another interesting video, it's bye bye from Vasan Shanmugam and your favorite Little Slaw YouTube channel.